That's what happens when you're in this profession, right? And yet, guys, it's coming off a, I just think a really, really good, solid ball game for us. But more than that, I'd like to say that the environment there was awesome. Our fans, and it started at the Gator Walk, man. It affected our guys, and our guys that have been here a long time said, Coach, that thing was something special. And it was electric in that swamp, and I know our guys fed off it, and that was cool. So hopefully we can get that kind of same energy in there this week, against a really, really good opponent. And I think recapping a little bit from the game, I thought there was some good things on both sides of the ball. Obviously some things we need to correct, but at the same time, I think defensively, gave up some things kind of early. I think they did some things, which obviously happens in first games, that we hadn't seen. And yet I think it speaks volumes for the adjustments that we made at halftime on that side of the ball. And really the adjustments more so our players made to hold the team to whatever, 1 yard or not many yards in that second half. I mean, that's an impressive display. I think, offensively, I was really happy for the most part with how many O-linemen we were able to play. I was happy with the young guys. I think, Fred Johnson and Tyler and obviously Mason, who, all playing in their first games, and Tripp was solid. Riles, I thought, did an outstanding job in at guard, and continues to grow into a player we think he can be. For the most part, they played all right. We missed, obviously, a protection, and ball security is an issue on the one sack fumble, which we've just got to push it all the way out to that, and we'll get it picked up and play catch. But that's why you play the game, and those are things that we've got to get corrected. I thought both quarterbacks had moments that were really good. I thought Treon showed some escapability and created big plays down the field, extended plays. I think that's a real positive. I thought what Will did is coming in with that two-minute drive right there before half, which actually was really big. And what do I mean by that? We gave up a score, but then we answered. And what that shows me is a little bit of resolve. We overcame some negative plays. Thought the play, quite honestly, on that drive was Brandon Powell's effort to get the first down. On a pop back, we had a seam wheel combination with a pop back underneath, and we read it right, and he went and made a play and kept the drive alive. I thought that was huge in that game. We had a lot of guys contribute. I like the fact that, there were a lot of people, in the box score as far as touching the ball. I think that's a credit to both quarterbacks, taking what the defense gives them, not just looking for one guy to throw it to them. And I think it showed a maturation in both those guys' case as far as going through their read progressions and getting it where it needs to go. So there were some really good things to build on. We've got to get a little more effort out of our special teams at some certain spots, and yet we've got to get some guys step up and play that a little bit as well. As far as the injury report goes, normal bangs and bruises that you might have in a game, but nobody that'll affect long term. Martez and Keanu will still be, they're ways ahead, and obviously I think maybe you even probably saw them down on the sideline. I mean, both of them are doing well, but as you know, we won't put them in until they're cleared 100% and ready to roll. When will we know that? Guys, I'll give you that information, obviously, on Wednesday, for moving forward to see where we're at. We're hopeful that they can get in and help us this week as we move forward. So, really that's it on that part of it. Looking forward to this game. This is a ball coach in Ruffin McNeil that I've got the utmost respect for. He's a guy I consider a friend. I love the way his team plays. They play with passion. They're physical. They fly around and play with a lot of speed. And when you look at them offensively, they're a team that's obviously not going to come in here at all and be, wowed by the Florida Gators. They're a team a year ago that obviously we played in a bowl game that put up 530 yards on us. And the key to that offense, as you guys know, it starts up front. They've got 4 returning O-linemen with the Boyd that seems to be the guy that kind of triggers it at guard. But that experience really helps you. And I think what makes them so hard to defend is this Williams guy, the tight end, in the multiple formations. They list him at tight end, but he plays running back, fullback, H-back, flex him out into wide receiver. What that allows you to do, and I love that versatility at that position, and something we look to get to. But now you don't have to personnel sub to get into certain things of what you want to do package-wise. So now you don't become predictable based on who's on the field. And I think he really keys that. Both running backs played a ton last year. Obviously they had the guy that had 4 touchdowns his last game. So, although they run that spread, the balance in which, the balance as you take a look at what they did in this last game, the balance rushing and passing is something that causes you issues on that side of the ball. Defensively, I really think that you see a team that has, Ruffin's fingerprints all over it. Very, very physical and fast, triggered by those 2 inside back, or the 1 inside backer and the outside backer, and Overton and Biggers, that kind of key everything that they do. They disrupt, and when they pass rush, are able to cover in space, and they cause you issues with their different pressures and kind of coming from everywhere out of that odd stuff that they run. And Hawkins is a secondary guy that's got a bunch of picks and had one against us last year, and obviously had one in the first game. But I think the overall thing, when you see a guy who the program is what he wants. A team that's been to a bunch of bowl games, plays everybody and doesn't back down, and we've got a heck of a challenge. And, we just need those fans out there like we did in this last game, make the Swamp a tough place to play. And I got to just say it again, man, that was pretty cool. So with that, what kind of questions we have?
Hey, Coach.
How you doing, bud?
Fine, thanks. Any chance you have the plan in place for the QBs, maybe flip the script or something?
It's something we've talked about, is maybe looking at it. I think both guys played well. Both guys had mistakes, but that's a part of playing, and that's part of learning. And yet, here's the good thing. They're all correctable mistakes. They aren't, fatal flaws, as we like to call them in our industry. And both guys, I think, did a good job. Both guys moved the team. We'll kind of look at that, and I'll let you know like I did. But, Mike, we'll play both, next week as far as how we'll do it. I'm sure it'll be similar. We kind of hit it, and I don't know the exact pitch count. It worked out a little bit, but we, tried to sit in that kind of 3 series, 12 to 15 reps, and then go from there, and it's just kind of in the flow of the game how it works. But I thought it, for the most part, both guys did a heck of a job.
And Cianti Lewis really showed up, but is he, at his size and speed, is he a guy that you can move around a bunch and maybe split out? And
I think as he grows and continues to develop in the offense, he is one of those versatile guys, like this Williams guy. He still needs to get bigger and stronger, but, might be our best point of attack blocker as well. So, but our ability to use multiple tight ends at that position and then create what you hope are matchup problems, that's what we try to get to offensively, and we'll get there as time goes on.
Robbie. Coach, overall play of the wide receivers and DeMarcus Robinson in particular, we saw he's 3rd on the depth chart now.
Yeah, there's some things I was happy, and as we talked, there were going to be a bunch of people play at that position. And, at the end of the day, it's about doing what's right and really what you put on film, right? And so in that, there's some guys that did some really good things. Some maybe didn't show up in the box score, but helped the other parts of the game be better. And that's what we've got to understand in everything that we do. And so, I think we had a bunch of guys catch balls. Somebody told me number 12, 13, 14, which, again, speaks to me that says we had guys doing the right things and the quarterback's taking advantage of what the defense gave them. And that's something we try to do.
In areas of special teams that you're kind of concerned about that you need to improve on?
Well, I think, first and foremost, I thought our kicker, he bombed those things out of the end zone. And I think his length, strength, and what he did in the offseason is really shown. Obviously, the one that got blocked was an operation situation where a guy just put a hand up and we didn't get the ball up quick enough. It wasn't a protection issue by any stretch of the imagination. Disappointed on the kickoff return because that thing had, we expect that to be an offensive play. And we had a couple guys miscommunicate a twist, and we've got to get that cleaned up because we've got to make that unit something that is to our advantage. And only having to punt once, that's I'm good with that.
Someone, I think, reported that Duke Dawson had a first-half suspension for being late to a meeting. How big of an emphasis has just being on time and showing up like that been for you?
Well, here's the interesting thing, I guess. I don't think of it as it was his choice. Right? So we all have choices, right? And that's the case in everything that you do. And, nothing against him. He's a good player. He'll play and did play, right? So.
Coach, with the secondary being so talented and having so much stuff, what are those guys like Vernon, Jalen, Keanu, and Brian Poole? What are they like off the field in the film room and meeting with you? What are they like?
What they've done is they've accepted kind of a responsibility above and beyond. We only get 20 hours with these guys, right? And so a lot of things is, they've got to kind of do on their own, and to see how these guys are taking the extra time to study the opponent, to help give them answers to the test on Saturday, and more so, it's really how they compete on the practice field is the thing that I think separates great players from just good players. And they're guys that, man, they just love to compete, and they practice that way, and I think it shows up on game time.
And what have you seen from their relationship with each other?
Well, they're a tight-knit group, and yet what they've done is really help this whole football team by interacting. One of the things I was really excited about, obviously the fans, our unselfish behavior from the penalty standpoint. We didn't have a lot of guys. We didn't have a lot of penalties. We played the game the way it's supposed to be played. And a lot of those penalties are unforced errors. They're selfish errors, as it moves forward. And what I saw was a lot of guys get into this team. When the offense did well, the defensive guys were as excited as anybody. That shows me that there's some bonding that's coming together here. Same thing, on the other side of the ball. The excitement for each other, that's really what it's all about. And, there's a lot of things to work on, but there were a lot of positives in that game as well.
Coach, a lot of the freshmen got on the field this week. Scarlett, Cronkite got touchdowns. Is that a sign of kind of how big a role this class is going to play this year?
Yeah, this class, I don't know what the exact numbers are. As I think I told you there were going to be a lot of new faces for you guys to look up their jersey numbers, and I think you probably had to do that in some cases. And yet, I think the good thing was the game wasn't too big for them. Now, there were some bright eyes coming out of that tunnel from some of these young guys, which should have been with that environment. And but I thought they settled in and did some good things, and yet there were a lot of correctable things that they saw on video that can help us get better.
Zach, over the right.
Jim, obviously, they say you make your biggest improvement from your first game to your second game, and you guys had a really clean season opener.
Don't jinx us.
Was that better than what you had expected? First of all, and second of all, how much of an improvement do you expect to see?
Well,
in this game?
I expect improvement every day. I mean, we had to have a better meeting today than we had on, Friday. That's the expectation. So, I certainly don't expect us to go out and get a bunch of penalties. I don't expect us to go out and not do our job. So there's going to be, as I say, teachable moments throughout any game. There's going to be mistakes happen. And sometimes, and I'm betting you maybe made a mistake once in your life. I don't know. Okay? But it's what you learn from them, right? So in our case, it's about continually taking a path and understanding the details that help you be successful. And that means don't overlook missing a meal, right? That's important, right? And yet, sometimes we enable people, right? Oh, that's just okay, don't worry about it, it's just him, right? Well, as soon as we enable that act, then what happens 10, 20, 30 years down the road? So there's lessons to learn in everything we do, right? And in our case, we've got to detail everything we do to get better. And we're not there, but I think we had a pretty good start.
And how did Antonio Morrison hold up in the first game?
Boy, you got to go back, guys. Keep writing about this guy. I mean, I'm telling you, because it's real, and he deserves it. And the effect that he has on this football team as a leader, by example, that's a true leader. You don't have to do this. Those guys, that's false, man. Lead through your actions, and this guy leads through his actions.
Coach, what were your overall evaluation of Jordan Scarlett and Jordan Cronkite being able to hold up in the run game?
I thought we had some pretty good players going in with, and those two guys. I think they'll do a great job as we kind of go throughout the season. As you know, that position takes some hits. Let's not take away KT. I thought did some really, really good things and had some explosive plays. But part of that might have been is we were able to keep them kind of fresh, too. And so we've got to continue to be able to do that in the backfield. And Mark Herndon came in and did some really good things. So I think, there towards the end, Case Harrison has proven that, so really there's 5 guys there that we feel totally comfortable with, to help take a burden off that position. And that's a good position to be in.
And with Keanu Neal still undetermined whether or not he's going to be able to start, you had Marcel Harris listed as the or for potential starter. What have you seen from him so far that gave you that?
Here's what I was really impressed with him is how hard he played during the game, but also how hard he played on special teams. This guy didn't take a play off. And to me, that speaks volumes about, how he wants to help his team be better. And I thought it was good.
Back to DeMarcus. Can you give us some specifics as to what on tape you didn't love? Is it? He has a propensity to run out of bounds and avoid contact.
I don't know about that, but at the same time, we had some guys step up and play pretty good at that position, and were in the right spots and did what's right. He'll still play. I mean, as I've told you guys, what are depth charts? As you look at rep counts, I think some guys probably that weren't number 1 on the depth chart probably played a bunch more maybe than some guys that were on there. I don't know. I didn't see the participation number. But at the same time, I think it's important that we all understand that each and every one of us are responsible for our actions. And whatever those actions are, be proud of what you put on film and give of yourself for the benefit of others. And that's really what it's all about.
And then I couldn't help but notice that the players were dressed a little like you pregame. Is that not like you dressed, but kind of like a typical Jim McElwain fashion statement? Khaki pants.
Did they not wear socks?
Some did. I think some wore socks. Most, probably most.
Well, they're getting it, right?
I'm just wondering, what's the thinking there in terms of having them so uniform? And did you have any say in the actual clothing choice?
Well, I'm not a fashion guru, as you know, by any stretch of the imagination, and yet at the same time, I want our guys to look uniformed. I want them to look as a team. I want them to look good. And, I think they did, and they represented this university the way that this university should be represented, with class, with dignity, and with a little bit of honor. And that's just a belief I have, that this is a powerful brand, and it's our responsibility to paint the picture that we want people to see. And I thought they looked good. Did you think they were ugly? No. I thought it was good. Does anyone else in here like it? I tell you what, as fashion guys in this room, and I use that lightly, does anyone have any suggestions we should do? I'm open. Is that right? You're the guy? Love it.
Is there something to be said for not having guys having clothing competitions
Well,
every week to show up best dressed?
I don't, never really thought of that. I don't know. I guess what you guys read into stuff, I don't, I thought they looked good. I'm not controlling, it's their choice, right? Okay.
Antonio Callaway is obviously a player.
You're beautiful. Oh, God. What this guy reads into nothing is unbelievable to me. All right, go ahead.
Antonio Callaway is obviously a player who started Saturday. Just how have you kind of seen him mature both on and off the field?
Well, he deserved that start because he's a guy who proved that he made explosive plays. He did what was right. The attention to detail, he caught the ball. This guy's going to be a good player for a long time for us. But I thought there were a lot of receivers that played pretty decent in that game. And, we just got to keep developing the position. But I'm sure glad he's a Gator. He helps us.
Kevin.
Yeah, you alluded to Cronkite a few times. He kind of got banged up a little bit on Saturday. Is he okay for next week? Or?
Yeah, he's fine. He's good to go. He ran one in the end zone and, got a little stinger or something, I guess, but he's fine. I mean, he's not on the injury report, so.
And the return position, obviously Hargrave's returning punts late in the game. Are you developing any depth there? Are there any guys maybe you can bring in kind of late in the game to give them a spell?
Well, I don't ever look at even a backup as a non-starter because you got to think yourself as a starter because if that person goes down, now you're a starter, right? So that's the way we approach every position. And we expect when they go in the game to be as prepared to play as hard as the guy that they're replacing. So, he's, like I said, he's a talented guy. He's getting a little bit better every day, and I'm sure glad he's here.
Jesse over to left in the ground.
You guys 0 snaps under center that first game, I think. You guys
I think, and I don't know what our pistol ratio was. We kind of went in with that expectation to do some things out of pistol, and yet part of it too was we needed to be accurate with those snaps. And 3 of those, we had 3 bad snaps, and you could argue that 2 more were a little off, right? So that's something we got to get better at, and that's frustrating because you can't start a play without a snap, right?
In your long history, you've had a lot of success running single back under center. Is that something you think that'll evolve through this season or something that'll take a little more time? That's a good question. I remember, I guess I look at it at the package, that's what we had kind of in for these guys. And, it can change week to week based on the opponent and what we feel we might be able to take advantage of, in 3 different areas, whether it's under, pistol, or gun, and which are all 3 different things. And probably the thing I was more upset with more than that was I thought our operation got sloppy at times, communication of the signals, guys getting them, I think, again, first games, I hope is maybe to allude to your question, I hope that cleans up in game 2, for us, so we can play with a little more aggressive nature.
There was on the last play of the half, or the last touchdown of the half, first half, to Lewis down the middle. Case Harrison picked up the blitz, and I saw when he came over, there were a bunch of guys mobbing him. Is that the kind of, you talk about family and being together and little things?
I'm really glad you caught that because here's a guy that did his job for Ciante to get his picture in the paper, right? And everybody talked about Ciante. He did the easiest thing there was, run down the field and catch the ball. But what happened is the protection and what Case did
And really, our team recognizing that, I think, is a step in the right direction, because really what made that play successful was what Case did. And, the guy throwing it, the guy catching it had the easiest things to do on that whole play. And yet, we all celebrate them. The guy that should be celebrated is that guy who made it happen. And in that case, there was a couple of that. There was a great slide pickup on Treon's first touchdown that, had that not have been, those guys bouncing that thing off, I'm not sure that he would have got it off on the twist game. So I thought that was really good too.
And are your quarterbacks not going to be available to the media, or is this just until that's resolved?
I haven't really thought about it that much. I didn't really know that. I mean, right now, let them focus on themselves.
But
and
that's
this
not a
football
year-long
team.
policy, right?
Not that I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'd said after the first game you'd kind of have a better idea of who would redshirt this season.
No, not after the first game. You never know. You have basically up to 20% of your competition, the way the rule is. So everybody's still available. And it's a long season. You just never know, right? So, that's not something that we look at right off the bat.
What's your take on quote unquote playing vanilla in early games? Do you do it?
I just hope we play to give us a chance to win. I don't know what.
I mean, just as far as, what you're showing schematically, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of even to odd fronts defensively, which probably we'll see down the road.
Yeah, but I think the way they played the game in the same personnel group, what I'm getting at? I mean, there wasn't, from that standpoint, a lot of those calls from a personnel in a nickel or dime situation, right? I think you saw us in our Prowler package, third and long stuff. So, that's, I mean, were we that boring?
I just, I don't know. I know coaches don't like to talk about it, but, is there some utility to keeping some bullets in the chamber, so to speak?
Well, I'm about using all the bullets and then put some more in the next game. That's what I hope to do. I'm sure you'll let me know when I don't.
Nick and then Mark.
Coach, we're going to get to see the indoor later today.
Oh, man, you guys are in for a treat. They did that right, and I got to tell you, man, I think you guys will be impressed. There's a lot of space in there, so we're able to actually practice and have full practice and not hinder the drills. I'm glad you're going to get over there. I didn't know you guys hadn't been in there yet. Sorry.
What's been the reaction you've got from recruits as far as being able to see the plans early on and then being able to get in there?
Well, I think what it shows is it shows a commitment. It's something that's been long overdue. But what it does is it shows a commitment, and a commitment to this organization and this football program with something that is going to help them be successful, just like the academic center that's doubled in size, right? That's what they came here for, and yet that's been kind of overshadowed a little bit. That's something that is huge because that affects their daily lives, right? And our upgrade in our nutrition, our upgrade in where they're living, which we still got a bit to do, but those are all things that aren't about the coaches, they aren't about the administration, they're about the kids. And why do we do what we do? We do it for these players, and we don't have jobs if we don't have players, right?
I noticed Jeff Collins gave Thomas Holly a pretty big embrace when he came off the field.
Wasn't that great to see, guys? I mean, that guy, just him getting out there again, and just playing the couple snaps he played, that's on that hip deal. That's something we didn't expect as well. So
what's been the struggle for him as far as coming back, being held out of the spring, held out most of the fall, then finally being able to get out there on the field for the first time?
Well, I mean, you're looking at a year of inactivity, kind of like me. I got about 30 years of inactivity, so I wouldn't be real, cardio ready probably to do anything anyway, right?
Mark and then back.
Is that just maybe a glimpse of what Hargraves can do offensively for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have packages we build, for him week to week, and whether we use it or don't use it,
you know, it's, I guess maybe to answer your question, you know, you always work things ahead. Maybe you don't use it in a game, but then you keep using it and polishing it until it's game ready. There's some things we do with them that I'm not sure is game ready yet, but we haven't practiced this week either. So, you know, it's all about those things being game ready to use them, and hopefully they're successful. Now his ball security, you know, something he needs to work on. And ball came loose on the sideline. Unacceptable. So that's something we need to work on.
And then your victory celebration with your family, can you just take us through that with the gum, where that came from, and how special of a moment is that for you each week?
Well, you know, I don't, you know, talking about myself, this is about the team, you know, our players, the organization, but you know, we go through a lot of things as coaches where we're not there every day for our kids. We're there, but maybe not in person. You know, only really seeing 2 halves of my daughter's volleyball games, you know, just, you know, my son's football games, you know, getting there at the end. And not being at very many of them at all. You know, you wonder sometimes why you do this. And, you know, I only know one way of doing anything, and that's work hard. And it's me remembering every day when we go into those games, writing their names on a stick of gum. Why I do this is to hopefully help them and know that I'm there for them. And so them being at this ball game, even though they're all over the country now, that was something that was really special to Karen and I. And, you know, one of those sticks of gum has my dad's name on it. And you know, that just wished he could have been here to see it.
We'll wrap up with a question in the back and then Edgar.
Coach, how did you feel about the play of Mason Halter along the offensive line?
Well, I know this. I'm sure glad he's here. And I don't think anybody, when they probably saw guys from Fordham, expected much. And yet his versatility, his energy, how he's, you know, jumped right in the middle of leadership role as an older guy. I just can't tell you how proud I am of Mace. And he's a guy that'll play all the positions, I bet, by the time the season's over. Both guards, center. His versatility is really going to help us throughout the year.
We'll wrap it up with Edgar.
What did you see from C.J. Wart?
I saw some good things out of C.J. I was excited to see the speed at which he played, but really knowing what to do and doing it at full speed is something that I thought showed up. And yet I expect that of him, and I don't expect him to take a step back. He's got a long ways to go, but he does have some explosive playmaking ability if he allows himself to do it.
Do you give awards, like team awards? Because like a lot of the coaches previous to you, they come in and they talk for 20 minutes, listen to all the awards, hard hat and this, that, and the other. Do you do any of that stuff with the team?
Yeah, I mean, attaboy, way to go. You did your job. You know, I don't get caught up in that. I mean, and maybe I should. I guess it's something, you know, we show on film to our team guys' effort that didn't get written about, that the announcers didn't talk about. To your point, what they did to Case, that's what we're trying to understand. It's not about the award. It's about giving of yourself and helping your teammates be successful, and hopefully we kind of keep driving that message home. So we had some guys did some good things, obviously. And I know Wonder comes in, they have like 37 SEC awards, you know, each week for guys, right? I mean, I think it was one, I think the guy who did best in flex, we got that one right. Good. So we had a lot of guys that did a good job, and some guys that got a lot of work to do. So I'll pat them on the back and tell them, way to go, you did your job. That's what you're supposed to do.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.